First, I just want to say I'm a big fan of your work.
You
For
have
our
my condolences. I'm sorry.
I'm a big for our followers. This is Sean Daley, aka Slug, aka Atmosphere, one of the legends of indie rap hip hop. So again, thank you so much. Humbled that you're here. I just want to start with a little anecdote. Back in 1999, um, a buddy of mine named Ryan Evans, who passed away in high school, left a copy of Overcast in my 1969 Karmann Ghia. And so I rocked out on that Pioneer deck for a couple of years, and I've been pretty much listening to every album since. So big fan. And you know, I think that what resonated with me the most, was that it was like the sort of that underground sound, but also the lyrical content was sort of thought provoking and insightful. And you were one of the first acts that really kind of broke that barrier for me. So anyway, really cool, really awesome. Stoked to see you guys here at Cali Roots coming up. Um, and so I guess here's my first question. It's been amazing to watch you guys grow your audience over the years, become one of these defining acts in indie rap culture. At one point you were recorded by some of the biggest labels, and you've stayed true to this rhyme sayers, uh, true to yourself, which you just don't see a lot. So can you tell us about your indie journey, why, how you stayed independent, and why you think maybe indie music's important?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so first, let me just say, sorry to hear about your friend.
No worries.
And I appreciate the connection that uh you guys had and that he helped create between you and our music. So thank you. In as far as we were independent because we didn't have a choice. When
Yeah.
I was a kid, I wanted to be LL Cool J, just like every other rapper, you know. And LL Cool J had limousines and gold chains, and and so it wasn't like I grew up going, yeah, I want to be blue collar rap or anything like that. It was more like that's just kind of what happened. And when it happened, it felt good. As we were doing it, it felt good. It fed into the blue collar nature that I had in my DNA from my parents and my parents' parents. And so as I'm doing this work, whether it be like seriously like dubbing our own tapes and putting stickers on them so I can go sell them at my show,
Mhm.
or getting on paying $1 to get on a bus to go downtown to stand outside of First Ave to try to sell tapes to people who are exiting somebody else's concert. These types of things felt natural, but also good. It
Yeah.
felt like I'm working, but I'm working towards my own destination instead of working to help somebody else reach their destination. But bottom line is when you're in that kind of labor life, working class box, it felt as natural as the job that I did have at the time, the many jobs I've had prior to this job. But if you would have came and said, hey, I'm gonna give you $1 million to come over here and do this, I would have done that all the way up until a certain point.
Hmm.
And I think that certain point was somewhere right before Overcast, when I was running around with headshots. I was starting to get the validations of I was starting to see we'll say the fruits of my labor in a validating sense, not just like another rapper telling me that I'm nice, or somebody being like, oh yeah, sure, I'll buy your tape for $5 just to get you to quit talking to me. Um, I was starting to get people who were like next, we'll say adjacent to the space I took up in the culture. As a rapper, as an artist, I was going to all these things, but I was going to them because I had an agenda. I wasn't going just because I wanted to hear the music. I
Hmm.
was going because I was a part of this. I wrote graffiti. I was a break dancer. I was a DJ. I just felt, weirdly enough, some sort of entitlement to the space. But I was seeing people, and I knew tons of people like me. We all felt entitlement to the space, but I was starting to see validation from people who sat outside of that entitlement part of the space and were just fans. They were just there to see the energy, to feel the energy, to hear it, to almost like exhibit it. And when I started to feel that, I was like, okay, oh, this is fucking awesome. I like this. And that's why I was like, why would I go to New York to get somebody to, you know, unvalidate me, get some A&R guy or some label rep to, you know, to shit on me, to reject me, when
Yeah.
I can get all of this validation here in Minneapolis, and then here in Milwaukee, and then here in Chicago, and then here in Cincinnati, Columbus, and specifically Midwest. It started growing in the Midwest pretty fast for us, because also I was willing to like hop on a Greyhound and come to your town to rap. You know what I mean? I was like, I was down to go anywhere that I could access, you know? Um, but when I started to feel that, that's what really fueled the independent or die kind of mentality. And there was a scene. It wasn't just us, but I was hearing some of the same stuff come from other artists from other cities at the same time that I was saying it in my city. And so I felt like, oh, there's something to this. So really my next idea is to figure out how to come into direct contact with some of these other artists who feel the same way as us, you know. So all of it just kind of played together. It was really timing, luck, all of that cosmic shit, where it's like, but any a number of things could have happened that would have just changed my whole trajectory, and I could have tried to do the major label thing had the right chips fell into the right place for that. You know what I mean? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is really, I'm just fucking lazy. I just went for the easiest shit I could go for. And then that was the underground. Like underground, I was like, oh, I could do this and sleep on somebody's couch. Perfect.
Dominate the underground scene. And you did a brief stint with in the Bay Area back what didn't you do some stuff with the Living Legends guys way back?
Oh, I was friends with those dudes. I never left Minneapolis, but what I did do is one time I in 2000 I flew myself out to LA to stay with Merce
Oh,
for a couple of weeks, and we made a record called Felt with another legend named Grouch, and that was in LA. Um, but the legends were based out of the Bay originally, or
right.
actually they a lot of them were actually from LA really, but they basically just ran up and down the coast. You know what I'm saying? Like and so people have often kind of like how Shingo was like he wasn't in the Living Legends, but he was so adjacent to them that they kind of put their arm around him. He was like an honorary member. I would say that I got pretty close to honorary member status with them
Yeah.
just because of how adjacent I was and how often I played shows with them, how close me and Merce were. I mean, to this day, I'm friends with Grouch. I'm friends with Eli. And I don't just mean like contemporaries, but it's like, you know, I text them and just be like, how are you? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like, uh, and me and Merce are still really close. You know what I'm saying? Me and Corey Sunspot, you know, we talk. And anytime I'm out there, I see somebody. Like if I'm in Fresno, I holler at ASAP. You know what I mean? And so I'm adjacent. I was also adjacent to another Bay Area collective called Anticon. I did a record with them back in the day called Deep Puddle Dynamics, and I was friends with those dudes. Uh, you know, and I think, you know, speaking to that, me and another rapper from here named Idea, we were because of touring, because of how often we would just get in the van and go, we were able to establish friendships and relationships all over the country with people in scenes that would have likely had beef with us had we grown up in that scene. But coming from Minnesota almost gave us like a Scandinavian vibe when we would show up in LA or in New York or Atlanta or Chicago. We were seen as this neutral thing. So we could be friends with both teams that were beefing with each other in LA. We could be friends with both teams that were because we didn't grow up in the same barrel of crabs that they grew up in. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so it's like,
That's
and so we were lucky in that, you know, but oftentimes people will be like, oh, you're from Minneapolis. That must have been kind of a disadvantage. And I'm like, yeah, of course. In some ways it was, because there wasn't much of an industry for this here. There was no mentorship. I couldn't like go down the street and knock on the door of somebody who makes beats and watch him and learn how to make beats. A lot of this stuff was all self-taught, you know what I mean? And so it's like, so there were disadvantages, but some of the advantages were really present, and that being one of them, the traveling advantage, the fact that we did not have a reputation anywhere that preceded us. We were able to just come in and freestyle really well, and everybody be like, you guys are cool. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Easier to collaborate without the sort of animosity there. That's cool. Yeah, it's been a an awesome journey, and you know I've seen it on my end, just from sort of the consumer's perspective, buying your guys' music, and I've, got some of your collaborations. I've got my Living Legend stuff, but we were huge into it when I was in high school and college, and I still follow some of the guys that are still putting stuff out. And one thing about that, you guys are like consistent, man. You guys put stuff out and tour, and you guys work hard at it. So it's been great for me because I can always listen to some new stuff. There's always.
I joke and I tell people like it's the best job I've ever had. I've had a lot of jobs. I didn't go to college. Fresh out of high school, I joined the workforce and I've done a lot of jobs. And I can't really speak for Anthony, but I could speak for Anthony when I say that he also has had a lot of jobs. And this is likely the best job he's ever had. I'm sure he probably feels the same as me. And so with that said, a lot of inspiration for what we do is not just based in being creative and being and having something you want to communicate, but also in kind of like celebrating our job, celebrating that we're allowed to do this, showing our gratitude for the position that we're in and the platform that we have by honoring it, by working on it, by continuing to practice and work on our craft. Writing albums is like practicing. I'm practicing to write the best song of my life. And so every time I write another song, it's a continuation of me trying to write the perfect song, which of course doesn't exist. It'll never happen.
Right.
But
You're pushing yourself.
the journey,
Yeah.
And Anthony probably has his own version of articulating a similar kind of feeling. And so we stay, I don't want to say productive, but we stay busy. We continue to do this at a I don't want to say at a rate, but in a way that, is designed to pay homage to the fact that we get to do this. Touring is something I really enjoy doing. It evolves. I always love being on stage. It's pretty rare that I'm on a stage that I didn't wish that I was up there. You know what I mean? And so, but touring changes, oftentimes like I've had full tours where my favorite part of the tour was record shopping. Like you get to go to everybody else's city and go buy all the best records and take them away from that city and bring it back to Minneapolis. You know what I'm saying? Like there's been full tours where I just was chasing a party, back in the day, specifically when I was younger. Like, so your reason for being on the road can evolve, you know what I mean? As long as you could figure out how to make enough to cover the expenses of being out there, why wouldn't you go out there and rap? You know what I mean? And so it's like, so oftentimes people will be like, man, you guys are still doing it and you're still doing it at a rate and you've stayed productive and all this and that. And I'm just like, man, what else would I be doing though? Because anything else that I could think of that I'd be doing would not be as fun. The only other thing that is as fun is just hanging out and playing Legos with my kids. You know what I'm saying? But I can't pay the rent with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody's got to work. Everybody's got to do something. And
What was your least favorite job?
of all my jobs,
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to go to the fast food route, but that was when I was a kid. But as far as like later on, oof. I mean, anything that I could pick is going to sound like I'm being mean to them, and so I want to.
You don't have to answer it that
I can
way.
think of a couple of cashier jobs where just outside of the labor, the headspace I was in was not good for me or not healthy for me. I hated that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, but I've driven lots of vehicles. I've been all types of couriers. I've worked in record stores. I've worked in flower shops. I worked at the library. Uh I've worked in gas stations, and like service centers, garages. I've worked for movers. Nothing that required me to go to college. If I could walk in and put in an application that was 1 page long and walk out with a job that covers my expenses, I was in. You know what I'm saying? It's like as I got older, I wanted stuff with benefits because I had a kid and whatnot. But I was in. I wasn't. It wasn't until I think about 30 that I was able to quit working all my other jobs. God Loves Ugly. When that came out, that was when I was like, okay, I don't ever have to work a job now. Well, say it like that, but I don't ever have to work for somebody else's vision.
Right. Yes.
Was
that was a great album. I actually when that came out, you guys had tour earlier on. You weren't touring in California all that much, but when that album came out, you guys came down to the Knitting Factory in LA, and I caught you guys a show down there actually. I was like, what?
We did two shows there. One that had Pigeon John and one that had Idea. Which one did you catch?
Idea.
So then Merce was there dressed as Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
That was Merce. How funny.
Yeah, that was Merce. He hosted it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a good show. So one of the things I wanted to touch on was, you're a songwriter, you write these songs. Where does your inspiration come from? What's your process when you sit down, you say, I'm gonna write a song. You say you push yourself, I always want to write the best song I've ever written. So what does that look like for you when you're putting that together?
Um, it depends. Currently, with my home situation, I usually arrive here where I'm at right now at about 1 o'clock p.m. Um, and that's gonna change here in a second though, because touring's about to start. And when I get back from touring,
You have a big tour coming up.
yeah, my time will be all switched because then the kids will be all in school. And so I'm gonna have to figure out how to like be here at like 8 a.m. Anyway, um, I get here Monday through Friday. I try not to work on the weekends. And I come down here and I power up a couple of different little items that I have to use to record myself. And I pick one of Ant's beats and I stare at it until I can figure out what the beat is. Funny enough, I would say that anything that we've made since Lemons was inspired by his beat, because Lemons was when I started writing directly to the music. Before Lemons, I would just free write. I would just write ideas. I would write whole verses. I would write whole songs, and then I would go find the music that would work with it. And now he gives me the music, and this has evolved. There's so many different versions of what our creative process is, so I'm just going to walk you through what it currently is. And so I have a small folder of a couple of tracks, usually sometimes just one, because sometimes he just gives them to me one at a time now, because I think he likes to see what I'll do if I don't have any other options. And so I take it, I stare at it until I figure out, okay, this is this kind of song, it's this kind of story. Now that I know that, what's the one that I haven't written, because I don't want to repeat myself. If I the further I can get away from that, the better. That's the first code that I think you have to crack, is to figure out what kind of story it is, then figure out how to tell that story in a way that you've never told it. And from there, it's pretty much free. I'm open to do what I want, unless he's giving me other codes to crack. And that's kind of become the thing as of late, is he'll say something. He'll be like, think about this, or go this direction, or let's try this, or and sometimes it's just weird, silly codes to crack just to keep your peripheral vision occupied while you're staring so hard at one thing in the middle. You don't want this stuff to just be random and loose. It's kind of like in the car. Some of us do our best thinking in the car because there's shit moving past us nonstop. And so sometimes we give ourselves codes to crack that are literally just to keep the peripheral busy so I can focus on what the story is supposed to be. And the best part is, man, like listening to myself describe this, it sounds so much cooler than the actual material that ends up coming out of these sessions. But nonetheless, I should just write a song about this procedure. But then once I get it there, if I figure, am I gonna have a chorus? Do I want him to sample something for the chorus? Do I want to scratch a chorus? Or do I want to ask a friend to fill in a thing? All in all, I just am trying to stay as genuine to the song as possible. Try to write a song that matches the color of the music he gave me and the vibe, because his music is like moody, and that doesn't mean dark, even though a lot of his music is dark. I mean moody. He covers the rainbow of moods. Like, he'll give me songs where it's like, this song is obviously sarcastic, or this music is obviously like proud, or this music is obviously like a children's song, or it's like he actually creates these like little universes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about that. It doesn't stretch. And it's crazy because nowadays he'll do it with a like a harpsichord. And I'll just be like, who fucking uses harpsichords in rap, bro? Like, and he'll just be, oh, that's a slide guitar. I'm like, really? Again? Okay, let's do it. It's like, it's a thing where he also is he creates codes for himself to crack too. You know, a lot of puzzle solving around here, I guess, is how you would put it. You know, he doesn't work that far from here. We work in two different spaces. We both work from our homes. Um, but we meet up in the middle, you know what I'm saying, and figure it out. And then I'll play him some stuff sometimes if I'm having a hard time deciding on the personality. I'll just be like, hey, listen to this. Is it the right personality? You know, just so he can hear it and go, nah, you're going too aggressive, or you're not being aggressive enough, or I need you to sound a little bit more like you have to go to the bathroom. And, you know, I don't know. But it's a lot of code cracking. And I gotta believe that's how most people write songs. I've written songs with other people and I watch them and their process, and it's a version of the same
Yeah,
bullshit that we put ourselves through, you know?
yeah, it's tough. It's probably every process is its own sort of little animal that you gotta kind of figure it out, right? Like it is a puzzle. That's it's a fascinating way to look at it. Process. Cool. Well, I have let's see. One other thing, just if you want to touch on briefly, for the guys starting out, writers, indie artists, whatever. You have any advice for people that are talented and ambitious and starting out now? Would you have any advice for people on how to kind of break through the noise and start to develop their own platform? Or, I
Oh
mean,
man. Okay, so that's a great question, and I love that question. And when people ask it, I hate the fact that I don't know how to answer it, because the
yeah,
truth is,
who
when I look
knows?
at the landscape now
Yeah,
and how things work, I don't know that I could have broken through the noise.
yeah, it's
You
hard.
know, the rules were different for me
Mhm.
back then. I just had to, well, I won't say I just had to, but what I did is I battled in my city, and then I used that little bit of notoriety to parlay into throwing our own shows in spaces that were not necessarily known for throwing shows. But that was forced upon us. It was because a lot of the real venues around here weren't fucking with rap. They were too scared
Yeah,
to have hip hop culture inside of their environment, you know? Um then once the venues did see that we were drawing hundreds of kids into like fucking weird little coffee shops and garages and shit, the venues were like, okay, wait a minute. There's money here and there's no fights. And you guys don't even have real security and there's no fights. You know what I mean? So that's when they opened up and started letting us come in. Once that happened, we were able to start building resources. And what I mean by resources is money. We were able to start collecting money from the shows, and we just wouldn't spend that money. We'd save it and use that money to buy blank tapes. And then those blank tapes, we would dub our own music onto. You know, we'd buy one tape deck, two tape decks, have them both run at the same time. Eventually, over the course of a week, have 100 tapes. We'd take those tapes out, sell those, make more money until we bought our own mix board, a Mackie 24 track. It's funny, you would never need that now. You do everything on your laptop, but we bought this huge 24 track Mackie mixer and a 16 track reel to reel half-inch tape, and we recorded Overcast and Beyond Comparison and the Dino Spectrum album
oh yeah,
on
I remember that
on
one.
that. Yeah, we had that at Sadiq's house, and then we burnt CDs. But the bottom line was this: every dollar we made, we didn't touch. We
Mhm.
pushed it into the next piece. That piece often was technology. So, what I learned from that is, you know, if you get the technology and learn how to use it, you can collect more resources. So, use what you got, build something out of nothing. We were doing that by rocking freestyles and shows, and then get that to the next space. We had to buy some turntables in the interim. We had to do things, and we had to continue it going. But we just kept going and just kept building on top of what we had, and didn't ever have that ego moment where we were like, look, we had a show last night, and I think I want to take the money. I want my part of the money. I need my
Yeah,
part of the money. Instead, we all busted our ass at jobs and doing what we had to do, side hustles, whatever, to make sure that we could deal with our lives so that we didn't have to, so that we could just keep. And it's simple, man. We really just looked at it like, put that money in a coffee can. Use that coffee can to buy more shit, to put more money in the until we basically were operating a real fucking record label, you know?
build it brick
I
by
don't
brick.
I don't know if you could do that now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that it would work that way. You
Yeah, but
know,
I think there is some wisdom in building an audience, you know, person to person from scratch, right? because that's what you guys did. You literally got every single fan individually, one by one, and starting with small venues. I think a lot of people today, they just want to put stuff content online and get fans the easy way, sort of, or whatever. But like,
Yeah, you know, if we had that at our hands back then, it might not have worked. That's what I mean by saying like it was almost like the limitations is what actually allowed us to find our way.
right, yeah,
Same as with, you know, even making the music. All the limitations that we had to face are part of what allowed us to get to where we got. And not only that, but we actually continued to rise and break through those limitations. Whereas some people saw those limitations and was like, "This is too hard. I can't do this," or This is frustrating," or you know, it's a This shit'll break people's hearts, bro. I got a lot of friends that weren't as lucky as me. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
so it's like I've seen obviously up close firsthand how heartbreaking this shit is. It's heartbreaking for me, and I actually get to do it. You know what I mean? Like, and so you know, the other thing I would tell people too, aside from, and I do like how you're able to squeeze some sort of wisdom out of the shit I said. But also in a city like Minneapolis, to be able to have started with fan one, fan two, fan three, I think that means you could do that anywhere. Because
yeah,
if you could do that here, then I do think you can do that in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But I also think you could do it in Chicago. If you're in Chicago right now and you don't know how to make this happen, start one fan at a time. Get somebody to hear you and believe in you, and instead of trying to like just figure out how to manipulate the algorithms. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
I mean, figure that shit out too. All the
yeah,
power to it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
right,
it's like, but if you can do this by just building it one fan at a time and never giving up. You
yep,
know, just and be honest, be genuine, honest with yourself as well as with the people that you're speaking to or speaking with. Keep yourself around honest people. You know what I mean? Like if you find yourself around some dishonest people, even though you might respect that they're dishonest as a means to manipulate the hustle and figure it out, the bottom line is they're not really figuring it out. They're just manipulating the hustle. And that shit's flimsy. That shit
yeah,
doesn't actually, it doesn't last. Now, if you're just doing that to get in so that you can, you know, take a side step over here and into opening a gas station and then take another side step after that to opening an ice cream shop, that's a different thing. You know what I'm saying? But if this is art for you, if this is something that you're trying to do to communicate, whatever, you don't want no flimsy shit. You want your shit to be solid as bricks, you know? And so with that said, you gotta keep the snake oil salesman out of your space.
yeah, makes sense. All right, so just wrap up here. You're coming out to Monterey, you're gonna be playing Cali Roots, and you're touring with Too Short for the rest of the season, or is that right? Are you touring with? I
That
saw
would
that.
be that would be fucking amazing.
I,
A
who are
Too
you?
Short atmosphere tour would be, yo,
I swear to God, I thought I saw
listen,
that
bro.
somewhere.
No, bro, speak it into existence, bro. Let's make it happen. But
No,
no,
you do.
no, unfortunately, we're not touring with Tour Short, but fortunately, we're touring with some really amazing bands. We're going out this summer with Slightly Stupid
Oh yeah,
and The Blind with Rome and The Movement. We have some other summer dates soon to be announced. We have we're going to Europe in like a month to go in May with Hebel and Zoo DeVille.
cool.
Um yeah, there's a lot of you know, it's crazy because I'm supposed to be like here in my exciting voice, here's what we're doing. But it's like, well, yeah, you know we're gonna do it because this is what we do. And even the people who are excited or interested in the fact that maybe we're going to go do this, they also know, well, yeah,
Yeah,
this is what they do. We're going to
yeah,
come around. We're going to play some raps and we're going to try to make people smile.
it's good. Excited to see you guys here. Anything else you want to plug or talk about? Records coming out what this week, next week?
May the 5th be with you. The record will
Okay,
be
May
on
5th.
May 5th.
All right,
Yep.
it's coming up a few weeks. Cool.
And
All right.
last words is just, you know, it's time to figure out how to get a little bit of space and grow your own vegetables. Really,
Yep.
it's time.
Amen. Cool. Appreciate it, man. Have a great day.